America Online. This one-time household name once held dominance in the world of the internet, with strongholds on connectivity, email, chat, and online news. Throughout the 1990s and the early 2000s, AOL had an enormous impact on culture in the US and essentially became synonymous with the word internet. At its peak, the company boasted a subscriber base of nearly 30 million and had an estimated market value worth over $200 million. So, what happened? How did a company that helped the internet explode into popularity become just a shell of its former self? Let's find out.
Now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.
In 1983, with the internet still in its infancy, what would one day become AOL started out as a small company called Control Video Corporation, selling their product called GameLine, which allowed users to temporarily download Atari 2600 games and keep track of high scores using a provided modem and by paying a subscription. 2 years later, the remnants of Control Video would become Quantum Computer Services. The company began selling their product called Quantum Link or QLink, which allowed Commodore 64 users to connect computers to an online network that included games, electronic mail, and an online bulletin board. In 1989, after a brief collaboration with Apple, Quantum changed its name to America Online, with a new mission of offering the masses a user-friendly way to connect online without having a lot of technical computer knowledge, meaning your grandmother, who may still have an AOL email address today, would theoretically be able to access the internet easily. In February 1991, AOL made its official debut and would soon begin an aggressive and to many a very annoying advertising campaign, sending millions of CD-ROMs to households across the US. As the internet began emerging into the public sphere, many still had no idea what it even was, what purposes it served, or how to get connected in the first place. Rather than going a traditional route like TV advertising, then Chief Marketing Officer Jan Brandt decided the company should be more up close and personal with its approach, by bombarding potential customers with CD-ROMs featuring trials for the new online service. The CDs were showing up everywhere, in the mail, cereal boxes, on airplane meal trays, at Blockbuster and Barnes & Noble, and even in packages of Omaha steaks, which included testing to ensure frozen CD-ROMs would still work after thawing out. They also offered a revenue share to computer companies that included AOL software along with their products. Although probably aggravating to anyone not looking for a few free hours of internet access, the name America Online became impossible to escape. Their new approach earned the nickname of carpet bombing advertising. The campaign was a huge success. In 2011, AOL CEO Steve Case stated that the average subscriber life was about 25 months and revenue was about $350, and that the company spent about $35 to acquire one single subscriber, meaning their efforts were paid back in tenfold. By the mid-1990s, the company began leaving competitors in the dust, but getting people to sign on was only half the battle. Getting them to stay was another. To accomplish this, the company set out to create a user-friendly interface that served as a one-stop shop for those who wanted to surf the web and reached out to make deals with major publishers to help fill their service with content. Upon logging in, the AOL homepage included links to games, news, entertainment, and of course, email and chat rooms.
You've got mail.
Making it easy to navigate while online, but primarily only within the walled garden America Online provided. AOL attempted to keep its subscriber base exclusively within its own parameters and didn't initially allow them to access the rest of the internet, confusing many newcomers into thinking that AOL was the internet. Sort of like calling an adjustable wrench a crescent wrench or a spa a jacuzzi. And AOL itself didn't exactly go out of their way to clear up the confusion. At the time, co-founder Steve Case was quoted as saying, "It's not a choice between AOL and the internet. AOL is the internet and a whole lot more." The company would eventually begin allowing access to more of the web, adding the BookLink browser in 1995 and Microsoft's Internet Explorer in 1996. In December of that year, AOL switched from an hourly access rate to a $19.95 monthly rate, causing a huge uptick in new and existing subscribers trying to get online. The sudden overload meant that many were being met with busy signals and couldn't get online at all. This resulted in some customers canceling their subscriptions and cost the company around $700 million to fix. By '97, about half of users accessing the internet were doing it through AOL, putting the company's subscriber base to around 15 million. As the end of the '90s drew near, the company continued its dominance by buying the popular chat service ICQ and by purchasing Netscape. But not long before the acquisition, Netscape developers had made their source code public, which would later allow for the development of Firefox. By the early 2000s, AOL had reached its peak of around 25 to 30 million subscribers. But things would soon begin to change for the internet giant, and rapidly. In early 2000, AOL announced its intentions of buying media giant Time Warner Entertainment. The deal, worth over $180 billion, would be approved by both the Federal Trade Commission and the Federal Communications Commission 1 year later. The result became known as AOL Time Warner, a $350 billion mega corporation with AOL owning 55% and Time Warner owning 45% of the company. The plan was to create a tech media hybrid combining AOL's dominant position in the online world with Time Warner's immense network of media outlets like HBO, CNN, TBS, and TNT, just to name a few. It seemed like a no-brainer where absolutely nothing could go wrong. Except it did. Within just a few months of the merger, the economy went into a recession and the dot-com bubble burst. The honeymoon phase ended very quickly, and the AOL Time Warner deal was already being referred to as the worst merger in history. It was reported that the business cultures of the two combined companies clashed and executives began infighting over the direction of the company. The synergistic environment needed to sustain such an enormous tech and media conglomerate just never really formed. On top of that, AOL, despite its large subscriber base, had fallen behind the curve and was slow to evolve with emerging technology. At the time of the new millennium, tech was changing rapidly. In turn, so was the demand for faster internet speeds.
Earthlink high speed is up to 50 times faster than dial-up. Do you know how fast that is?
As broadband internet was on the rise, AOL was still mostly stuck in the past with the dial-up delivery system that put the company on the map. By 2002, the company reported a nearly $100 million loss and had begun bleeding subscribers. The value of the AOL division dropped significantly, and in 2003, the AOL name was dropped from the parent company, which became known just as Time Warner. By 2006, AOL began making email accounts and software previously only available to paying subscribers free, in an attempt to slow the loss of subscribers who were leaving the service from switching to free accounts like Hotmail and Yahoo, and to bring traffic to AOL.com. Features like AOL Instant Messenger, AOL Video, and AOL News became free services, along with AOL email addresses. The company also attempted to force its remaining internet subscriber base to migrate to its DSL service by temporarily raising dial-up prices to match DSL pricing. The moves just didn't seem to work. AOL continued to decline, and its subscriber count had dropped down to about 10 million by late 2007, and they had laid off nearly 40% of employees. The company kept trying to make the right moves, but to little or no avail. They would continue to buy and sell assets, attempting to regain the relevance they once knew in the 1990s. In 2015, Verizon announced plans to buy AOL for $50 per share in a deal valued at $4.4 billion. And in 2016, Verizon purchased the core internet business of Yahoo, eventually merging the two companies under the name Verizon Media. Verizon Media was eventually sold to an asset company called Apollo Global Management, which is known today simply as Yahoo. Although just a shell of its former self, the AOL name lives on today and owns a portfolio of advertising services and media brands. AOL.com still exists as an online news hub where you can still sign up for a free AOL address if you want to show your age, or you just want to feel a bit of nostalgia when sending an email.
Virtual reality.
Interactive appetite, searching for a website, a window to the world, got to get online.
Take a spin, now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.